Hey everybody, welcome to Advanced Stick Trick Lesson number 2. If you haven't seen the first one, feel free to check it out, but don't worry about watching it before this one, because it's not one of those series where if you haven't seen the first one, you'll be lost in the second one. All the content is completely independent from video to video. The only thing you need for either one is just a knowledge of traditional grip and rhythm. And these videos work in conjunction with my snare solos. So if you're trying to learn the tricks from the first one, watch the first video. And if you're trying to learn the tricks from the second snare solo, watch the second video. And the first solo had a lot of juggling, which is why there's an emphasis on that. And then this one had a lot of left-handed tricks. I didn't necessarily write them like that. That's just kind of how it turned out. So that's that. And let's get started. Alright, so the first trick is just the basic thumb roll. And its starting position is just traditional grip. And simultaneously what you'll have to do is use your middle finger to push the tip of the stick towards you, and use your thumb to push the butt of the stick away from you. And then it kind of turns out like that. It kind of takes a little bit of practice. You'll have to make sure you get your index finger out of the way, and it just kind of glides around your thumb, which is why it's the thumb roll. And it's not like a really sneaky throw and catch type thing. It actually never leaves your hand at all. Sometimes you don't have control over it, but you just get kind of used to that. And obviously try it without playing, and then you can incorporate it into your playing. So the lick I did in my solo is just, and I just incorporated the fact that it ends up backwards. Otherwise you just have to kind of do a goofy flip, so it helps if you can just use it as a back stick. And I've seen a real cool sticks in with this, where while they do the thumb roll, they also throw just their right stick over. So I can't exactly do it, but it's definitely something to experiment with once you get just the simple one down. I'm not really sure what the technical name for the next trick is, but I always kind of jokingly refer to it as the burger toss. And again, you start in traditional grip, and it's just simple toss, just one complete rotation. You just take it and throw the tip of it away from the drum. And just make sure you catch it in playing position. You can't catch it really like this because you can't go back into playing. So you're going to have to learn to catch it just right in between your ring finger and middle finger, and also the placement, like up and back on the stick. So if you catch it here, it's useless. And another thing you can do once you get it down is, let's say you're coming out of a back stick or something like that, and it is backwards. You could do maybe like a toss, or a turn and a half to get it back to normal. So that wasn't very good, but you get the idea. This next trick is simply a hybrid between a high mom and a triple back stick. And it starts off with just a traditional grip stroke. And then from there you do the second step of a triple back stick, which is just a little like side stick where you turn the stick over and hit with the butt, and then balance the stick, obviously right in between the ring finger and middle finger. And then finally you take the stick over for a high mom. So kind of hard to do it slow, but faster it looks like this. And once you fill it in with your right hand, it sounds even cooler. So that's that. Not too hard, just a little different, a little twist of a high mom and a back stick. This next trick is actually the bonus trick from the first video, so some of you guys might already know it, but I figured I would cover it again. And all it is 3 paradiddle-diddles and 7 single strokes. So I'll go ahead and play it once, and I'll play it slow. So what you've got is a paradiddle-diddle where the first 2 notes are accented, a paradiddle-diddle where the first left hand is crossed over, and then a paradiddle-diddle where the first 2 notes are accented, and then the final 2 left-hand doubles are crossed over. And then the 7 single strokes, which are crossed over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, pretty simple. You get it up to speed. It looks real slick. Next trick is just a double stroke roll using the claw. So I'll play it once and I'll break it down for you. And what you've got there is obviously double stroke roll, so right, right, left, left, continuously, except with the right hand, the butt of the stick hits the first note and the tip of the stick hits the second note. And that's a little awkward at first, and I see people struggle with this trick for two reasons. The first, they try to keep the stick at just a vertical plane when it helps to actually make it more of a 45-degree angle, like sweeping motion. I actually kind of incorporate just kind of a lazy arm flick, and I don't try to just make it wrist because I think that's just too difficult. And don't worry about putting it in the center of the drum, because typically it ends up, being somewhere about here for the butt and then somewhere over here for the top. And when I do it, I pull the left stick out just to get it out of the way, and it also matches the timbre that you get when you hit on the edge. And I've seen Casey Brohart do a cool variation where he somehow gets 3 notes out, where it just sounds like triplets, and he doesn't even use the left stick. And I think what he does is he gets 1 note when he sweeps in, another note when he sweeps back, and then a 3rd note with the beat of the stick. So I can't do it, but it's definitely something to experiment with once you get comfortable. This next trick is really simple in theory, but much harder said than done. I'll try to play it for you here, and then I'll break it down. So, as you can hear, it sounds a little sloppy, but there's a whole lot that can go wrong with this trick, probably more so than that can go right. And what you do to do it is you have got left hand, like 1/8 notes, I guess you could say, and you flip your right stick, so backwards, pull it over, balance it on your left wrist, and you try to play singles. So it's pretty simple in theory, but obviously it's pretty difficult to do because you've got to make sure you get the balance point exactly right on your forearm, and this way or this way, and you got to have the right momentum, and it's just a real tough trick, but a really, really cool trick if you can get it. And it's definitely frustrating if you can't, though, so just keep working at it, and hopefully you can get it. This next trick is a trick that Jojo Mayer has made really popular on the drum set. He does it a lot just on the snare drum and like drum and bass style drumming, and it sounds really cool when he does it. And I'll just go ahead and play it for you. And the cool thing about it is that for each right hand stroke, you get 2 notes on the pad. And it probably is a little fuzzy on the pad, but definitely when you get on a drum, you can hear both notes speak. Right now, I think the stick kind of overpowers the pad. And people typically struggle with this because they just kind of let the left stick go. And they just typically get about 1 note per right stroke. But what I've discovered is that if you put a little bit of pressure on the stick and prevent it from just kind of flying wherever it wants to, if you combine that with hitting the stick in the right place, you can get doubles. So I typically use my top 2 fingers to just add a little pressure, and you just have to make sure you find the right spot on the tip of the stick. So when you start, just obviously some parts bounce better than others, and you'll just have to experiment and figure out what works best, and then you can pull it out just whenever you want. This last trick is just a little bit of a bonus trick. Thanks for watching. It's probably my favorite stick trick, but it's the least practical, and here it is. And I like this trick a lot because typically you'll do it and people will just kind of look and be like, what was that? So then you do it again. And what you do there is, can't quite do it slow because I'll probably drop it, but what happens is you use your thumb to roll the stick on the back of your hand, and at the right time you kind of break your wrist and catch the stick between your stick and your wrist. So pretty tough to get initially, and it's probably very frustrating at first. And oh, and the fun part is after that you have to throw it back. So that also takes some practice. So definitely a frustrating trick to learn, but once you get it, you pull it out and people are like, whoa. So try it out. And thanks for checking me out, and subscribe if you like this video, and see you later.